So uh, now that this is on my mind, I'm starting to go back and see like way far back. The thing is, once, especially I think if you're a child, or if you've had a narcissist parent do this your whole life, you kind of don't know any other life. You don't know any other scenario. Whatever you were in, whatever version of that, that's where your sense of reality is formed. So yeah, after that, you are entirely susceptible over and over again to narcissists, and that's the one thing that even when I like thought I had it handled, it'll still jump up in your face. And the one thing you really always have to remember is that a narcissist is unpredictable. Um, but a lot of the stuff that I'm saying about how to mess with them, how to keep yourself whole and authentic and real in that, um, it's it's kind of the same thing I keep trying to tell my niece. I just want to help you get there further faster, because it does become a matter of, oh god, another one, oh god, another one. And the faster you can pick up on it and know that those red flags are real and know how to test them out, the better. Because what happened to me is like in my late 30s, I didn't get married for a long time. I had actually somehow, I probably largely due to my dad and his parents more than anything else, and in friends and in moving around and just learning from different kinds of people. But I managed to have very healthy relationships with most of the guys that I was with. Guy that I was engaged to, almost married, and never ever, I had my moments of, oh, oh boy, you're with someone for 3-4 years, you do that, but never felt a moment that I didn't respect him, love him, like him, think the world of him. And there are, even, people that I went through hard things with. They did stuff to me, I did stuff to them. That's the way relationships are. You break up. All in all, I say that we're largely healthy with, enough of a dose of unhealthy, just like anything else. Then, when I was in my late 30s, and I was in that space where I really couldn't figure out yet why none of these relationships were sustaining. Whether it was me not, in the end, feeling just madly in love with someone that I otherwise just absolutely adored, or whether someone who was unhealthy for me and I was madly in love with them. It just never, but there was always this sense of the minute I felt kind of trapped or confined or run around controlled, I would start to behave in a way, either I would leave or I would behave in a way to push the other person. And so I was at that stage of like, I've had these I'm friends with these guys and everything, but I'm just not good at this. And then this guy comes along who wants to marry me, and it's someone that I know through work. Totally, yeah, we're kind of just different personalities, but we get along really well. He's a little bit older than me, and he lives in a different city. So, but we're seeing each other like every week because of work and things, and gradually we go, because of me, gradually into this. The red flag I didn't see while I was still living where I was and he was where he was. And I did, because of that. It took a little bit to get engaged. It took a while. It seemed sudden to everyone else, but I was very low key, like just not telling anyone about it. In the middle of that, I was telling him, I'm cautious. I'm in my late 30s and have not been married. There's a reason for that. I'm not, and I don't like people at work knowing about my personal business unless that's my decision. And like right after he said this should have been a red flag. Right after I said this, he sends me like 24 roses to my office. Nobody knew who they're from. And there was lots of speculation because there were guys that I, talked to. But that's what I was mad about. It was like, I'm not ready to talk about anything to anybody, and now you've got all of them speculating about who might be sending me flowers. And in a way, glad that they're speculating in the wrong direction, but also a little disgusted. Thanks. He did that twice, and that should have been a big red flag, and it wasn't. Look out for things like that. When you say, these are my boundaries, again, they'll trample all over your boundaries. That was a clear boundary I set. Work and my social life, they are very separate until I decide. It's not that I'm ashamed of anything, but work is work. It's serious to me. Especially with someone who I've met through work. I mean, stay in your lane. That should have been recognized. But covered it up pretty well. And also he was a different sort of character. I know that narcissists come in all different shapes, sizes, forms, everything. This guy's a tech manager, like an engineering kind of guy, geeky kind of guy, really good at playing the very, kind, sensitive guy. Yeah, he's sensitive, all right. But he was very good at the kind of the love bombing, but kind of not aggressive still, I will say, but it measured in a sense, like you knew. So it really wasn't until I moved up there, we got engaged, and one of the first things that happened is all of a sudden he didn't want me to have any male friends. I've got a lot of male friends that I've never had any sexual interest in at all. And that was infuriating, and that was the one thing I was like, you know what, if you want that, you don't want me, because there is no way I'm losing friends just because I'm getting married. And that was just done and done. I'm not talking about it anymore. And he really kind of didn't have any choice. Once we got married, then he started with the isolation and all of that kind of stuff. And the freezing me out and the silent treatment and all of that. And since I hadn't even figured out my mom yet, I hadn't figured out any of that yet. I had that yet to do when I got back, figure that whole mess, after I was already taking care of her again. That was yet to come. So I really didn't know quite what was going on, but I knew it seemed awfully familiar. And I went to the point of getting myself a therapist, and I went to her and I said, I don't understand how I'm doing this wrong. Every time I try to talk to him, every time, every way I try to have a conversation, it ends up in some fight, and then he keeps me up all night. He will come, I will think we're done, we're not going to do this anymore, I will go to bed, and at 11 o'clock he's waking me up and he's going to keep me all night with this. What am I doing wrong? And she very plainly said, you're not doing anything wrong, except you're being abused. You need to either, see if he's going to deal with this or get out. But in the answer to that, it ultimately ended up being get out. And the advice she gave me actually kind of backfired on me, because she was like, if he starts doing that, yelling at you, escalating it, walk away. Well, I had really long hair. The first time I turned around to walk away, I'm just like, I'm not doing this. I turned around, he grabbed the back of my hair, and that's the first time he broke my tailbone and yanked me down on the hardwood floor like that. Very shortly after that, I started planning my move out. So I moved out, got into a partnership building restoration. So I was in this big old factory building. This is after, I think we were separated but not divorced by then, I think. And on a Sunday. So here's the level at which you can sturdy yourself up and be like, never again. Because he scared the shit out of me. He had been kind of low-key stalking me. Like, he did this thing. At the time, you could get on Match.com, and actually there was a friends section, and I didn't know anyone there. He had isolated me, but you had to do the dating thing too. And I was like, what the hell? I'm just going to tell people I'm no shape to date, but I do want to meet people. And it worked. It really did. It gave me a good, very fulfilling social life while I was there. It was great. But he went on there and sends me an email. Oh, I see that you're on Match.com. Well, I am too, and I'm glad you're moving on. Well, good for you, whatever. And by the way, I'm not dating. Whatever you're doing, God, that you really need that much attention from the opposite sex, whatever. That's not what I'm doing right now. But here's what he did ultimately, because that stuff wasn't really bothering me. I was just like, God, stop doing these petty things getting in the way. Just move on. Let me move on. We'll do the divorce. Be over with. I mean, he made a lot of noise about it, even when I was going, I don't want your money, I don't want anything from you, I really just want this over with. I'm bummed out that it's legal and we have to do this. That's all. So we'd had a building that was in a historic part of town and part of a gallery hop, and I had done a gallery hop. So we're here on a Sunday waiting for artists to come into this building. I'm on the second and third floor. First floor door is open. It's a Sunday. It's kind of deserted down there. And I'm just waiting for artists. I'm thinking it's no big deal. Watching out the window for people, just hanging out, whatever, entertain myself. And I see him start circling the block. And it put the stalking. It's not like the first time I've been stalked. And I froze. But as I'm watching him down there, I'm going, it would be so easy for me to just go get in my car, whip it around. I know which way he's coming around, and meet him head on. I didn't. I froze. My point is, a lot of people misjudged what I did later when this guy in Reno. This guy, when I went up to that writing contract and I got all this narcissist baseball guy, when I finally just went, listen, you think, and he did, because he was like, you've got control issues, and I was like, dude, you think I've got control issues? You have got control issues, and I'm not indulging it. I'm not interested. I'm leaving. And what the hell was I doing? Was I crazy? What, that was crazy. What was I gonna do? I'm gonna go back where I was before I found you. So happens. I got a roommate. I had a job in a different part of town, just a restaurant. I was waiting tables, and these friends that we'd gone to this baseball game came in and saw me there. And I thought very little of it. I was just like, oh, shit, one people. You could tell him anywhere that I am. There they are. And I got off my shift to get in my car, and I went into another parking lot just so that I could make a phone call before I went home. That's all. I'm just gonna make a phone call, and all of a sudden I see headlights facing my driver's seat window. I'm looking, I'm like, is that his? That is him. And this time I was like, you. I turned on my car. I had a little BMW 325 IS, so it was not hard. I and faced him, and he started trying to whip out the parking lot, and I followed him. It was so funny because he's hurrying up, and he's stuck at a green turn signal. A red turn signal. It's like 10:30 at night in Reno. I just mosey on over here. He's rushing over here, and I just keep following him. I'm like, yeah, you want to stalk me? I will stalk you back. I will chase you down. And I did for a good 10 minutes or so, right up to the point where I looked and went, okay, now he could turn back on me. And seriously, I don't even know if this dude's got a gun or a weapon or something. So I see how I can get out. And I just very slowly, just very calmly rounded the block, went back and went on my way. I was not stalking him back. I didn't even want to catch him. I didn't want to get near him, but I definitely wanted him to see me seeing him, and that I still was not scared of him. Not scary. You're weak, you're a coward, you're a fool. And you just showed all of that. That's all. So I guess my point is, I've had a lot of practice. And so the reason I'm on here is, again, maybe I can help you get further faster with this without having to learn all this stuff time after time after time. If somebody does something new to you, start listening to those red flags and pay attention. The worst thing I did was give too much room for those red flags. Go, maybe they're not this person. They probably are. Give yourself the benefit of the doubt there, and at least just take a few more steps back than you think you ought to. Observe a little closer, be more aware. As I think of red flags and behaviors like that and how I address them, we'll try to do that. And it's not like I had great success every time. I floundered, I failed, I cried, I defended myself, I got all beat up and destroyed and insecure, all of that. It's not like that never happened. Like I said, this is after repeated, you just keep getting something repeated at you enough times, finally you figure out something to do about it. And that's all it was, by fits and starts. I figured out things that work, so that now, and that's what, believe me, if you have gone through this, you probably still don't know how durable, how sturdy, how smart, how tough, how courageous, how smart you really are, how amazing you really are, because that's why they wanted you in the first place, and all they were trying to do is break that down out of you and take it for themselves. You're still that. All you gotta do is pick yourself out away from them. That's not theirs. Even if they keep it and do something with it, it's yours. It's always yours. You don't even have to worry about what they're doing with it, because you already know what they're doing with stuff. You already know. That's all I want to do, is just show you as much as I can, along with anybody else who's trying to show you. You don't have to do this. Even if you are just doing you by yourself, you're better off than having someone like that run you around. You're losing your agency, and your agency is worth a lot right now. Take it. Peace, love.